on the cooperation with the Single Supervisory Mechanism, the SSM, within the European Central Bank. For us, it has been very important to make sure that we have the right basis to work from. And in that, obviously, we need the supervisor to tell us the fundamentals about the bank in question, and this is for the supervisor. And now the SSM has answered our questions, which then allow us to move forward. I have obviously also read the paper, but actually I don't find that we have had issues in this cooperation. It is quite obvious that we have different responsibilities. The next thing, when working on the precautionary recapitalization of Monte Paschi di Siena, is that this is a first. We will set a precedent in the way that this is done, and obviously we are very careful to be loyal to the letter and the spirit of the legislator and do a proper job here. That we have been doing actually for quite some time is to make sure that customers can be compensated if there's been a case of mis-selling. If you come into a bank with your savings, it can be your pension, and say, I would like to put this in a secure place. And basically it's your impression that you put them in a savings account. But de facto, you become a owner, or at least you get to own a small part of this bank, which then carries a risk which is much higher than in a savings account. The risk of either being part of burden sharing or in some cases going back for a bail-in. And in these cases of mis-selling, we have found ways to compensate, either via arbitrage mechanisms or directly if we find that it can be justified that a lot of people have been the victims of mis-selling so that they can be compensated in a more direct way. And that I find is a very, very good thing, because it is important that mis-selling doesn't take place in order to build the trust of our financial system, and also for people to see and feel that if mis-selling takes place, then we can actually set up mechanisms to compensate them.
Soleras, Bloomberg News. I want to follow up on the question of my colleague from Radio Radicale on Monte. He asked a question about shareholders and about compensation of shareholders. In principle, would it be in line with state aid rules for taxpayer money to be used before shareholders have been paid in to the full extent? And the second question again on Monte, the Italian decree foresees that bondholders, junior bondholders, would be compensated. Can this be done not just on a case-to-case basis, but across the board?
Well, for me, it's important to distinguish between two different sort of categories of procedures. One would be when you have bail-in, that's sort of quite serious waters to be in as a bank if you're in the bail-in procedure. Here, in the question of Monte Paschi di Siena, what is asked by the Italian authorities is to do a precautionary recapitalization. When doing that, we do burden sharing in order for the owners also to chip in to make sure that the capital needed is also partly provided by the owners. And this is the procedure that we are doing right now. On the question of compensation, if you look back in other cases, we have done this before. In the Spanish case, there was set up an arbitrage mechanism to allow people as individuals to say, well, I was missold, this is not fair, I should be compensated, which they then did, and actually it worked, as I've been told, quite well. We also have done sort of more scheme-like compensation, finding that if you can sort of prove that or make it probable that you were not financially literate, then you can be compensated in an even lighter process than doing that. That we have been doing before, and obviously if we find that there is reason to compensate people for mis-selling, we will do our best to find ways to do that again.